Okay, I'm gonna assume that things are recording right now. I'm doing this through like OBS or whatever because my regular webcam for some reason just doesn't want to like work. Um, I'm not sure why, but um, you know what? I know what I'm gonna talk about in this video. Um, I know I haven't uploaded in a while, but I hope you guys have been okay. Hope you guys have been alright. Happy 2026. Um, yeah, this is gonna be based on self-improvement, but work through your failures. Work through your failures because and I was talking about it with a coworker the other day, but I think it's important to understand that you know sometimes we're not gonna get what we want. Sometimes we're not gonna get the things that we work hard for and that we put time towards. And sometimes we have to accept that life will offer that at times. Um, for example, right? Coming up with this video, right? I was gonna upload a video of something that I recorded on my MacBook a few days ago. Usually I'm able to upload things mighty and brighty. It works. It's fine. It's up and running, right? But for some reason, it just didn't work. When I was uploading something on my MacBook the other day, or a month ago or so, earlier this month, I was able to upload it straight from my MacBook, drag the file into uploading the video, and it went up. Easy peasy. Not much issues. I feel like for a regular week, would have been the case. But with this week, it just didn't happen. And I was just like, what's going on? Like, why is this happening? Like, all that kind of stuff, right? But I ignored it or whatever. This is like late at night. And then I fast forward to today. I thought, what, why not upload a video? Why not, at least try to keep up a streak of like, me wanting to do YouTube often. And I thought, why not upload the video? I dragged it into Drive and was able to do that, right? It still didn't work. If you're someone that uploads videos, apparently there's like this thing where it has to like check to see if it's uploading the SD version or standard definition or something like that. And then, with the initial check option or the initial check version of the upload, it didn't go through. So I'm just like, what is going on? Like, why is this happening? Tried to do a little bit of research, couldn't possibly work. So I was just like, you know what? Let me do something better. Let me instead go on OBS, record a video through here because it's tracking my webcam here and connecting my Blue Snowball microphone here. Why not record through here? The microphone dropped, I picked it up. Why not record through here and just record a quick video and upload to YouTube right after? And you know what? I'm doing that right now. And hopefully this computer, it uploads and that I could be able to have a video upload for this for the month of January. I already had 3 uploads, but see what I did there? When things happen, you decide to, take action, right? That's the first thing. Take action, right? Always find a way, because there is going to always be a way that something can be solved. Especially when it kind of seems a bit impossible at first, or you're not sure how it's going to play out. Gotta trust the process that it will work out and that it will happen. And when you put in that effort, it will happen, Some way, somehow, it will happen. And I think that if you just trust that you're doing the right things, that you're taking the time to understand what's going on, it will work out. And I think that's the important thing to keep in mind with, just adversity, right? Second thing, I'm going to move more in the middle. Second thing I'd say keep in mind is to always use the opportunity that, something isn't working out as a lesson rather than something that stops you. I think that when it comes to adversity, it's easy for us to let things get in the best of us. Like, we let things get in our head. We sort of let it, bring us down. And I mean, it makes sense, that something could bring you down because, you're just trying to go about life, do things simply, just get through the day. You don't want to have to deal with whatever may get in the way, right? But sometimes we're just going to have things happen to us when we least expect it. And I think that it could be, troubling for some of us that just want to, get through the day, But I think instead of letting it deter you, you should more so use it as an opportunity to, take advantage of being able to learn something that you haven't learned before. I think being able to look at something that might not work as a way of learning and as a way of understanding the situation makes it so that you're able to adapt to things quickly, and therefore you can act on it. And I think just being able to sort of be aware of your surroundings and be aware of everything going on, just being able to just learn, I think will show to the world how much more valuable you are than just like I guess letting it get down on you. Like, if you can show like, hey, like, I there's a solution to this, I want to know how, there's ways to get to that. And I think that can be important, and it shows that you're adaptable, it shows that you're hardworking, it shows that you're willing to make the sacrifice no matter how hard it is. Last thing I'll say, and hopefully this could be a very important tip for anybody, but I think at the end of the day, you gotta have faith. Sometimes in life, when things don't work out, when things aren't what we want it to be, it can get us down, and we might not be willing to open up and to do the things we regularly do. But I think a big thing at the end of the day that is important, and I think is a big tip that for anybody that's going through a situation where they feel that things are hard and things are challenging. And I know that some people go through really worse situations, and some people go through really great situations. Some people have advantages, some don't. But have faith. Have faith that things are working out for a reason, and that everything is happening for a reason. And just trust the fact that everything works in the way that it's supposed to. I think that when we have expectations of how things go, it might be special that it happens, but there's always going to be something next, right? And I think that, when it comes to understanding that, with adversity comes a story, comes something that you could be able to talk about, right? But also understand that, with any sort of outcome that we want, when we have an outcome that we wish for, or the outcome happens, that's the result of something. That's the result of everything that comes before. We can't necessarily control what happens after we do things. We can't. And I think for some of us, it's hard to grasp. It's hard to grasp, being able to not have control of something. It could be rough. It could be hard to grasp, especially for people who are very stern and hard-headed on what they want. I think if you're able to accept the fact that the outcome is not something you control, but it's what you do, and you have faith, and most importantly, faith. For some, it's religion-based. For some, it's, just typical faith, manifesting or, inspiration, believing, whatever the case may be. But it's visualization, all of this stuff. But I think if you're able to really just picture that something will happen and that you have faith, and you let that be the basis of what you want in life, that is what will bring you to success. That is what will bring you ultimately to where you will be. And it may be what you want, it may not be what you want, but whatever it is, something will happen off of what you're doing. And I think if you understand that, with you doing what you do, and if you have faith, not only will you be hopeful about everything working out, but you won't be so outcome dependent. You won't be so focused on things that you can't control. The outcomes that you want to happen, it will turn out different than what we want it to be. And I think that is okay, because if you have faith that something will work out, something will work out. If we do the best that we can on something, that is the best that we can do, and that's something that we can control. And if we can do the best that we can do, we won't focus on things that we can't control. I think just to leave it off with this, success is the sum of everything that you do beforehand. Success is when you have the journey of something you're doing and you put in the time and the effort and care into what you're doing, and it leads to everything that happens, and it leads to something coming up. Results come from effort. Results come from action. Action is the most important thing, regardless of what may stop you or what may get in the way. Action is what matters. When you put in the work, it will work out. That is all I have. Thought I would get a video out. I want to upload more, and I want to kind of do something different with my content. I record some stuff and put over the background. Kind of want to move away from a little bit of the face cam stuff, but I might try out a bit of editing and stuff. This isn't really going to be much editing, but whoever this video sees, I hope that this video goes to someone that's going through a certain process of mine that I was kind of going through a bit of. Oh my god, I'm outcome dependent. I'm worried about things. What will happen? I hope this video is for that person that needs it. It just happens to be recommended on YouTube. So that is all. Thank you, and to the